Gypsy says it doesn't matter. And other lies. From Gypsy's book Released, Gypsy writes under the drawing she made. One of our class assignments in prison was to illustrate what our crime looked like and the impact it had on the victims. This is a picture of my Habitat for Humanity house, in a frame. The frame is cracked. In the shards of glass are all the people who were affected by my crime. And it was me using a hammer to break the picture they had in their minds. On the hammer I have Nick's name, seeing him as a tool for doing this. Not hiding behind excuses. I take accountability. This is what I did. Why I did it didn't matter. Again. This is what she says. Not hiding behind excuses. I take accountability. This is what I did. Why I did it didn't matter. Why you did it does matter. Why is what everyone would love to know. You didn't say it was because your mother wouldn't let you date or eventually marry someone. You didn't say it was because your mother was cruel to you. You just said why does it matter? Comments found on Reddit to Gypsy's statements under her drawing. Think about the words she used on those sick Facebook posts, admitting she was trying to make it sound like Nick. I slashed that fat pig and raped her sweet, innocent daughter. She screamed so effing loud. First, if she wasn't in the room and didn't go into the room after as she claimed. Slashed is an interesting choice of words cause her mom was slashed in the back of her neck. Then the essay part. I'm gonna go with Nick's version cause I'm not entertaining hers. Nick says right after the fact she jumped his bones, instructing him to put marks on her, be rough with her, bite her, mark his territory. So her original story was that at first it was consensual, but then he bit her and she screamed and told him to stop, but he didn't listen. So, she knows her mother was slashed, obviously. And telling him to bite her and mark his territory, she was setting it up to look like he came in out of nowhere and killed her mom, then SA'd her and mentions she screamed when he bit her. It lines up with the posts she was trying to frame him with. She's a twisted little lawn gnome for sure. In Gypsy's book, My Time to Stand, in chapter 16, she writes, "It didn't matter whose hand held the knife or whose impulse it was to try to cut a dead woman's head off. The police didn't see a distinction between Nick and me. So she admits she knew her mother was already dead when someone slashed her neck. She also has tried to convince us that she never went into the bedroom after Nick jabbed her mother 4 times with a knife. So how did she know someone tried to cut her head off after she was already passed on? How could she say it didn't matter whose hand held the knife? And it didn't matter whose impulse it was to try to cut a dead woman's head off? Of course it matters. And she tries to distance herself from the whole story by saying a dead woman, instead of my mother. Very odd and disturbing. To the police, it matters who made it happen as well as who held the weapon. Look at other cases where people were in prison for life and they never held the weapon. Amelia Byrd and Charles Manson are just 2 examples. Yet Gypsy is free. Comments found on Reddit to Gypsy's statement in her book. How did Grifty know that Dee Dee was already deceased when her neck was being sawed on if she wasn't even in the same room? Exactly. She's even said after she's been released she had no idea what she looked like. Ding ding ding. Because it's all fiction. This was found in her prison emails. I just found out Nick's mom died from an overdose the same week as the anniversary of the crime this year. It's sad. Part of me feels sympathy and part of me feels like it's his karma coming back to him. He took my mother, so karma took his. It's sad regardless. The friend asks Gypsy, do you believe in things like fate and karma? Yes, Gypsy answers. I believe in fate and karma. I try to help people even though I have learned not to expect anything from them anymore.
The lie detector has determined that was a lie.
Overdose. Who knows where did she get the money for rugs? Bah. I hate rug addicts. But it is still sad that a young person is dead. Friend emails. I think right now you have a mix of feelings. Of sadness and a sense of divine justice. Right. Divine justice? Divine justice would not be having Nick lose his mother. Divine justice would be Gypsy having life in prison instead of Nick. With that being said, please, if you haven't already, please sign the petition at change.org/arrest Gypsy Rose. This will get the federal courts to look into Dee Dee Blanchard's homicide case and investigate where no one bothered to investigate before. Also, please get my book Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Murder for Hire, What Really Happened. It's available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. Look at these great reviews. Miranda Cowles. Well written and researched. An important work. Perfectly summarized. There is no evidence that Gypsy was ever medically mistreated, and no evidence to suggest that she's even capable of telling the truth. She is a dangerous monster, and she is now influencing our young people to do the same. This book is informative, brutally honest, and refreshing in its honesty. Jenny Brickles. Read it. So much information that the media never released. This was a well-written book with so much detail. It gives you a closer look into the case and points out so many lies that were made up by Gypsy. I'm glad someone finally wrote a book showing the truth. Dee Blanchard was murdered in cold blood, and Gypsy got a slap on the wrist. Gypsy should have got life. Poor Dee. Lori Maldonado. Absolutely must read. It's about time there's truth being put out about Gypsy Rose Blanchard. There is just so much evidence to expose her lies and manipulation. People need to know this narrative was a story built by her lawyer as a defense. A story pushed out to the public to make her the perfect little victim. It's not that the general population wants to be nasty and unforgiving. She's a very dangerous individual. The justice system failed her and us. She should have been held accountable. She has not taken accountability, which is usually required for early release. I don't identify as a murderer. He did the actual skill. Any other murder case, she would have gotten life also, and she should have. Great book of truth to show who Gypsy is, how evil and manipulative, and how they flipped the script to get her a sweet deal in prison. I really hope people stop drinking the Kool-Aid and actually use their common sense after reading this. We all have different opinions, and that's okay, but if people will just look at the evidence. It scares me that she's allowed on the internet because she planned her mother's murder online, but I worry that she's influencing our young people. They look up to her as a hero, basically. Thank you, Alice. The truth feels good. Maria Macaulay. Right on the mark. I love this book. Everything points out correctly and logically. I recommended this book to my family and friends, and I also highly recommend this to the people who are only going by the movie part of the narrative. There is so much more, as Alice mentioned in this book. All I can say is thank you, Alice, for stating facts and putting this book out there. Thank you for all the kind reviews. I'm glad you are enjoying my book. Please like, share, subscribe, and become a member. I appreciate you all.